Hey builders, Brickworld app with the always hardest video of the year being the Brickworld haul for Citizen Brick. We have a ton of pieces, ton of minifigures, so we're gonna have to cover things in at least 2 parts, especially since some of these minifigures, like the Pope ones, I'm gonna do a separate video on those. They also released 5 other minifigures on an online drop at the same time as everything at the show. So I'll kind of break those up. We'll do the robots in this one. And of course, all the other random parts that I did pick up, starting with the new torso here, which was from the headquarters visit. Again, like last year, I was able to attend the open house. I just want to state though, this year it's not a public event. You do need to be invited, but they did hand out torsos again. By default, this is the one on the front where it's just CBHQ open house and the date that it happened. And this year it says this was free on the other side, which compared to last year said I was there. So slightly different. The other side, I believe it all has the same font, just the date is different. So I wonder if they've made the top 3 as one pad to reuse it every year, and then the date just changes every year. But another really nice gift to receive with a purchase at the open house, and I was glad to go again. Since it isn't like super public, I don't film a lot or anything like that, but they have the whole wall of all their minifigures that they've made, so I usually try and grab a quick video of everything there just because it is kind of cool and kind of shows just the progression from the beginning of the company to now. And it was cool to see them updated again with the current figures from this year. Excited to have another torso, and let's look at those parts. Now to the printed parts I picked up at the convention. Most of these are from Thursday. Some of them are heads from tracksuits that I gave out to other people. So got a couple of the newer tracksuit heads. Very happy to pick up some of the van legs. This was probably the item I was looking for the most from the convention. I'm glad I did pick up at least 2 different options. You know, I already had the blue from the base minifigure, but the dark red is also just something additional, and I feel like that pants color kind of exists sometimes in like some of those khaki colors or corduroy pants. So it is pretty useful. I saw some people ended up with dark purple, and I would have loved to have picked up something like that or pink, just something a little more fun. But again, just glad to get at least 1 pair in a misprint color. They seemed like these were pretty limited, especially compared to the underwear legs where there are at least like 40 or 50 in them. I'm gonna guess there were only like 20 of these max. And I think one person basically grabbed half of them. So makes it a little harder to track things down. That's one of the gambles from the conventions, is hoping you get one of the better parts first, since a lot of collectors will pretty much just grab everything. But again, really love these legs. Glad to get more of them. We got more parts to look at. And speaking of legs, I also picked up more of the underwear colors, which are one of my favorite Citizen Brick parts in a couple different colors. We got lime, red, sand blue, medium blue, I think, magenta, and then blue. Wanted to pick up the medium blue ones, thinking it was light blue. Finished my Frozen dude. But you know, it didn't work out perfectly. I had forgotten that the Frozen guy was very much a light blue. And I'm not even sure if I saw underwear in this color in the bag to begin with. I probably would have grabbed both colors if I did. I don't think the hat is accurate to the original figure. It is just a beanie piece that I had. And the head was reprinted for the Titanic set, so I was able to pick up an extra of that out of the bins. You know, I did grab the underwear to try and match it, and at least with the white underwear separating the blues, it's not going to be super obvious that the colors don't match. Like, it's a little more obvious in person. It isn't perfect. But on camera right now, you know, I'm not really noticing a difference. It's a little easier to, you know, blend it a bit with, you know, the camera. So that is what is nice. It is definitely a slightly darker blue. And honestly, it's just confusing with all the different blues from Lego. It's hard to track them and keep track of them. So for my mental image, I definitely thought this, like, I guess medium blue was the right color. But it, you know, it's a little more periwinkle, I feel like, versus light blue. So, you know, it happens. It still looks decent and makes the figure a little bit more complete. And of course, it's always just fun to pick up more underwear colors, especially this year, just getting more that I didn't already have. I was able to pick up a couple like 2 years ago when they came out. So I got sand green, reddish brown, dark orange, purple, and then the base colors in flesh and yellow. And of course, my favorite one I picked up, and one of my favorite fig barfs, I got the transparent pink from a couple years ago as well. mostly transparent colors here. So one of my favorite fig barfs, one of my favorite parts, and again, always fun to get more underwear colors, especially since the magenta ones I could throw on my Big Shot minifigure if I'd like to. Wish I was thinking about that a little bit more so I could pick up, I guess, another light blue since I already missed that, and teal or turquoise to throw on that Big Shot. But again, more opportunities for fig barfs. I'll find out some fun ways to use those. Got another Detroit Tigers hat to complete another one of my minifigures. Over the years, I have been able to pick up pretty much every part for Magnum PI, but for the hat, though, I just have the, I think it's another baseball enthusiast based on something Kenny Powers, but I had the torso finally. That was the last really important piece, and I can't remember when I got the head, but I feel like I got it maybe at one of the conventions. Luckily this year, you know, like I already showed off, was able to track down a second of the Tiger's hat there. So now I have my complete Magnum PI minifigure with the cool printed sleeves with more of that Hawaiian shirt design that continues from the torso. And you know, the legs are a little bit more generic with just jeans and a belt, but works for the character. Glad to have another completed Citizen Brick figure in the collection finally with all the accurate parts. Let's check out what else I got. And now there's some other parts. You know, I picked up some printed arms just for fun. This one's from the Megan minifigure with some stripes on it, and 2 of the cowboy arms just in case I could figure out something for those eventually. I got more of the roadie band tees, which I already did review recently with the Autopsy Enthusiast, but those are some fun parts. I got yellow, neon yellow, magenta, and black. These band torsos. Already super fun. The yellow one's kind of unique since it is yellow on yellow with the skin tone and the shirt, so a little unique there. I feel like the highlighter yellow is always a color that's in the conventions and readily available. You know, the magenta ones here, I guess I could kind of toss with the underwear legs I showed off a little bit ago. And black is just interesting because the, you know, sort of crease lines are printed on black with black ink. So they blend a little bit more interestingly, if that's a word. Really great torso, and it's kind of fun that it has the company logo on them since it makes it like kind of like a sig fig type torso or just like a business card torso. I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I mean. And plus printed arms are also a nice little feature of those. We'll see full of the Android misprints in a bit, but I did pick up one of them just for this head, got rid of the torso and legs, and picked up an extra torso. These 2 parts here are really cool though, and I'll just need to flick off the lights quick. We got the black light going there, and those are 2 glow-in-the-dark parts, so those are always fun to add to the collection. Wasn't really expecting the brain to be glow-in-the-dark, I just thought it was gray, so nice surprise there. I saw some other people have glow ones, so I just figured, hey, maybe that is what I have, and I did end up picking one of those up. Nothing special about these really, since they're going to be shown in a bit, and I have already looked at the bigger brain part, again with the Autopsy Enthusiast review. And I guess I can throw the robot head on the torso and we'll look at it quick. But I also picked up another Citizen Brick Enthusiast torso with the gold ink on the brown, since I don't think I have any gold ink ones. And again, I already mentioned it, we'll look at the, you know, misprinted parts of the robots in a bit. I did not get one of these tall heads on one of the figures we'll look at, so we'll take a look at that though. Everything here is going to be new and updated with extra printing. The back of the heads now also have like extra printing with like an outlet, some vents, panels, and all that. And the torsos are just lovely with all the wraparound printing. And these are going to be really fun parts to use in fig barfs. And that just leaves more heads. We have some already seen ones before with the neutral stubbles. Same with the David Bowie head. We got 2 different breast-eyed ones, but one of them is really cool. And we can take a closer look in a bit as well, but it is double-sided, which is a cool little misprint. Glad to have something like that in the collection. And we have these short shot heads, which one of my friends, Bricks About Nothing, picked up for me at Bricks Cascade, and I'm excited to take a look at those. So we can toss those heads on the stand. A little bit of a spoiler for the molded parts, just to kind of get more of them on the stand as I'm going through minifigure parts. Bottle pieces unprinted, and I thought these were probably the 2 best colors I got, since this one feels like any sort of random liquor, and this one can be more of like a wine bottle. But again, just with the leg and, you know, torso combo here, I feel like this fits pretty well. And again, with a really cool double-sided head that very exciting to have in the collection. Is a very unique, probably somewhere in the 1 of 1-ish, since this is a darker flesh color and not a normal light nougat. And it is 2 unique heads too, where it isn't just one of them being like a generic, you know, neutral face. two stylized neutral faces. So very fun. Very glad to have that, and I was very excited to spot it in the bin since it is a unique part that maybe some people overlooked. There were what felt like a pretty good amount of these misprinted Autopsy heads. I picked up one in like the mint blue, green, whatever you would want to call that, just because it seemed like a fun option compared to what else was out there. And I feel like by the time I got a hold of this bag of parts, it was pretty much just yellow with some misprinted brains in them, stuff like that, where it wasn't as exciting. Looked like some people got like transparent colors in the base plastic. But excited to have this one. We'll see what I do with it. And, you know, the torso is just going to be pretty generic, just the printing on the front with the Citizen Brick Enthusiast. I have a couple different versions of these with different inks, different colors, but like I said, I don't think I have it in gold yet. Was happy to pick that up. The short shot heads are interesting since I believe that they're like official Lego heads that are molded incorrectly. And I feel like this is kind of an interesting design and makes sense in the Citizen Brick mythos, you know, to make what looks like kind of deformed faces on heads like this. And it's kind of interesting that the molding issues for these feel pretty consistent. So it feels like the faces are kind of printed in the curve of the head in all of these cases. And there are 3 different variants. One with full stubble, one with like cheek freckles, one without them, and then obviously the mouths and eyes. Maybe just the mouths are different, and then this one has the extra little line above the eyebrows, and then this one has a little bit of a inner eyebrow print. So very unique and kind of cool to see that they did 3 different options. Probably could have gotten away with just doing one, but this is a little bit more fun and creative. And that just leaves some of these new heads for figures. The bottom one there is going to be for the new Amish figure we'll take a look at, but these other ones are all just new variants of the tracksuit, giving it more options. Got a cool hairpiece there to throw on my Sopranos Polly, since I pretty much have the whole figure, just need to figure out a head for him, and now I have the hair too. And kind of wrapping up the loose parts, the new versions of heads from the tracksuits are all very fun. You know, you got the like concerned glasses look with a nice little chin line too. Stubble mustache kind of combo there in one of the newer flesh tones. And the top head there also has like a cool scar along the side of the head. And I already brought it up, you know, getting the printed hair piece again is a nice little addition. And I'll just need to get a head now for Polly to wrap that figure up. But was excited to see these new options. I'm glad I was able to pick a couple of them up, and maybe next year at Brickworld I can kind of finish out the new heads that came out. When it comes to the molded accessories that I picked up this year, a little less variety. They had at the open house all the different shades of colors for the swords that they've made recently. With the classic knight ones there, I picked up 3 different colors, 2 dark purple, a lavender, I think, and then a spring green. And then I also picked up one of their He-Man swords, which I'm excited to toss on to my Misprint He-Man in dark purple. The He-Man minifigure I picked up last year came with a silver molded sword, which is accurate, you know, to the base figure, but when you get to the misprints, you can make it a little bit more fun. And that is, again, why I picked up the purple sword, since fits the color scheme a little bit better. Maybe I should have gotten pink to match the hair, since I think it was originally brown when I picked up the figure, just switched out for pink to make it a little more colorful, but makes it just a little more fun, gives it a little more flair. The swords were also available in some different colors last year, so those aren't new. Picked up 4 different fanny packs, since those are always fun parts to get. We got a medium blue, I think, or azure, something like that, dark green, yellow, and red. Reviewed those before. They're on the Times Square Almo figure if you want to see them on a figure. And we got their molded bottles. Again, they've had these before, but I got a couple different colors. 3 solid ones with like kind of a dark reddish, a sand greenish, and then a yellowish. For like solid colors, we got a transparent blue, transparent lime green, and then like I guess this one's more of a blue-green. That one is more transparent blue, and then more Coca-Cola bottle style there. No prints on these, but they're just really nice parts and can decorate a scene pretty well and fit into minifigure hands. And we just got some of their military berets in like a mustard yellow, some marbling to it, some, I guess, 2 colors mixed together. That Coca-Cola bottle, but in a hat, and sand green just because. Honestly, it's kind of fun to get things in random colors. Gives you a lot more options for making combinations of your figures. And with that being said, let's go to some of the figures I picked up. For the figures we'll be covering today, this is the lineup. We have more options for the robot that we'll reveal later. On the side here we got Silvio, and I'm going to review this later since I pretty much have the whole Gabagool gang set at this point. But we have this cool conjoined twin minifigure with a new head. We'll take a look at that. For the conjoined twin one, we'll just take a look at the torso leg combo here. The torso has like a rope design for CB. The twist in the rope on the end there at the C and at the end of the B is kind of nice, where there's that little bit of extra texture and, you know, fraying. So that's kind of a cool design. And then the legs are going to be the same as the Cheesehead Enthusiast V2, where it is just pants with the, you know, little buckle there, some stitching. Nothing on the back of either of these parts. And I've got identical parts on the other half of him. So nothing new there. The stretching on the middle there is kind of nice, and it kind of feels like that's supposed to be like kind of a face with like the mouth and the two eyes potentially. I was talking to some people and they brought it up that it is interesting that the stretched eye is on the outside versus the inside, where it feels like maybe the line should be stretched there, but I kind of feel like it could also be that from the back of the head it could be stretching around, and we could explain that a little bit, but it is kind of fun to see it kind of have the wider look there and kind of thin into the inside. So that's fun. I like the idea here. I'm interested to see if they use it again, since this feels like kind of, you know, maybe a one-off. But I also heard some people bring up, you know, it could be like a thing piece they'll use again. Who knows? I think it is kind of fun to see them tackle some new molded heads like this, since they have a ton of them with like the double heads. Maybe this is something they could do for a zombie of some sort, or just another Halloween character. We'll have to see. I think this is, again, very unique and interesting to see in person. And hopefully if you want to get one, you can get one at the leftovers sale coming up. With the other cool molded head, we have the CB Squad minifigure. And I feel like there were a couple different versions of this with different heads. I don't really remember, but I wanted to get a purple of some sort in this, since, you know, I would like that color and the different shades of it. The gold for CB Squad there is also nice, and again, it's kind of like the band tees, where it is just a Citizen Brick themed torso of some sort for a sig fig, which is nice. Legs are going to be the same as the conjoined twin one, where it is, I guess I should bring up, you know, it's got the metallic gold little buckle there too, which is nice. And this head is going to be a molded piece, and I know for sure they already did use this for another figure, which would be the Kiss minifigure, but it is just printed on the opposite side of the head, as you can see there. All these heads are connected as one piece, so you're not going to be able to use all these different neutral faces and the different tilted angles, which makes sense. And it is nice to get the Heisenberg hat in pink, since I do not have that color of it. I have a couple of different colors, but that is unique. And the pink hat and the purple kind of matches, again, why I picked this one, since I feel like the parts were a little bit more unique, and the legs were kind of a easy to use shade as well. Kind of a callback to one of their older figures. They have a new version of the Amish minifigures. These are really fun to look at too. I'm forgetting when I originally picked up my Amish minifigure. I think it was CB Day in 2022 or 22 probably. And it originally had, you know, the molded sleeves glued on, which isn't going to be seen on the new versions today, but the hats are going to be the same. Torso is going to be identical. But the hats have some variety for these misprints, where they're not all in the tan, which is nice. They did basically release this version again on the site with just blue arms instead of the flash ones with the sleeves. So I am glad I picked up the original one. Getting to the versions I got today, I got this one at the headquarters in dark purple. It seemed like that was one of the more rare colors for the torso, and again, I feel like I am going to solidify myself collecting purple to kind of limit myself a little bit more. The beard is going to be an official Lego part. And the hat is now in dark gray, which is a nice color, and still printed with the black around the brim. The torso, going to be identical, so you're not going to have to collect. If you have older misprints, don't need to get the colors again probably. But that's kind of nice. You know, I did really like this minifigure. I feel like it was a little bit more limited and sold out pretty much right away. The head here is new, which I did point out already in the parts section, and has silver glasses with the mouth, and I feel like this is perfect for office space for Lumberg. So probably going to mock up some sort of photo at some point about some TPS reports needing to be done. And there were quite a bit of beard parts that were used for some variety for the minifigures. Some of them had different heads, which we'll see on the next misprint as I knock it over. And that'll be this yellow one. I felt like I could maybe try and do like a Man in the Yellow Hat, Curious George type something. Same torso, but the head is different. I can't quite figure out where this head is from. You can see it has brown eyebrows, longer frowny mouth, which doesn't match any of the other Amish minifigures that I do have, since they all have like different shaped mouths. So kind of cool to have a little bit more unique here. And I got the reddish round one here since it did have a different face and wasn't going to just have the same head that most of them had, which was this glasses one. So very cool. The yellow hat, again, another fun color to have of that. I saw or heard some people say they were going to do mask minifigures with that, which is smart. And I feel like you can do a lot. These hats are really cool, and there were 6, 7 different colors. There's like pink, olive, a bunch of different varieties, and yellow felt like a pretty cool one to have. Part that they molded and a new minifigure with some old parts. We have this party boy. For the party boy, I was trying to do research since it has a beer can that I don't think I've seen before on the side here. This might be the beer that was found with the Beastie Boys set, but there are 2 cans of it. No distinct labeling to kind of give it an identity as a parody of one of the real beers, which is fine, I guess. And I'm glad that they did generic human versions of this, since the drink hat that they posted on their socials was only going to come with a zombie version or vampire version. I wasn't really super in love with either of those characters, but I really wanted the drink hat since this is iconic to me from like SpongeBob, and the, he was #1 hat. And I actually reached out to somebody that works at Citizen Brick back in last July, asking about a part like this, and he said it was already in the works. So that just shows you how long they're actually developing these products. On the top, they are going to be brand new beer can parts with that little bit of extra tubing sticking out, or maybe these are the same ones that would be used with like the drink carrier. But I'm pretty sure they're new, and the flex tube is going to be the same material that they have for the bolt gun Enthusiast from No Country for Old Men. So it's nice to see them kind of combine all these parts into a new figure. The legs are going to be their classic Daisy Dukes, so those aren't going to be new or anything. The torso is going to be new, though, I'm pretty sure, with like the stomach hanging out and the party boy sort of print on there, which, I'm not always the biggest fan of just like torsos with text on them, but I feel like this is very fun. Got the like kind of pink color scheme going on here with the coral torso. They had like yellow versions of this as well, but I wanted to make sure I got a flesh one since that would match most of my collection. On the back, though, you can see that the torso doesn't have any extra printing, so I guess it would just be the front sort of hanging up if he's like doing a keg stand or something. Maybe that's the intention. Or just, I guess, the stomach, since there is like the extra stomach line there. But slight, continuity error with no skin showing on the back. The helmets are really interesting since, the head, dragging the head off too. Trying to be a little more careful. Something just cracked weird. But the nozzle piece is actually a part that is inside of a drilled hole in the head, so that'll fit with like Lego smoke effects and their spray paint bottle parts and basically any sort of pin connection that would go in like a smaller Lego hole. So honestly, when the like drink hose part isn't in there, it kind of just looks like an open mouth, which is fun. Got the shutter shade design there, so it'd be kind of cool to get this without the drill as well, since I do just kind of like that face print. They've done some shutter shade heads in the past, I believe, too. No printing on like the back of the head or anything. And like I said, it will fit with a lot of their other parts. You just got to be careful since they are a little bit thinner on the, pin connection part. So when you're putting it in, taking it out, just, again, act carefully with your expensive toys. But that's kind of a fun little thing you can do for some photos. So I appreciate that part. And of course, the helmet is going to be compatible with other things too. The sides there will just pop out. So basically any round 1x1 brick will fit in the top there. So you can probably come up with some fun builds to use for this. Put on different drinks if you want to put on like their Mountain Dew or something like that. And the hoses are going to be nice and flexible. And I don't want to take the hose out. I feel like that's a bad idea. I probably will not be able to get it back on the like whatever peg. But I guess I can pop off the top of the can. And it must just be a new part because there isn't like a hole drilled in there to shove something in. So they just made a new can top, but very unique, and it was kind of fun to see all the different combos they did for these types of figures. Getting to a couple straight misprints, we have their tracksuit again, which will be pretty much the same. Quick looking at my tracksuit from last year. It's Adidas branded. You have the white stripes down the side of the legs with the shoe printing kind of wrapped around. Same for the arms with the white stripes. They had a bunch of different head options. That is going to, again, continue to this year, where, you know, the tracksuits themselves will be the exact same, but they have new head options. So we got the pink glasses one here, which felt very Bob Odenkirk, Saul Goodman, maybe based on my mental image, the I Think You Should Leave skit that he was in. He had some of the hats in fun colors, so I picked up a pink one here since, again, always trying to get some interesting parts in different colors. So glad to pick that up. They had a ton of these in a ton of different colors, so at the leftover sale, I'm expecting a ton of these to be available. Same goes for the Cheesehead version 2s. Here's my version 1 with the happy, excited look, classic yellow cheese, and that is what the jersey looks like. For the Misprints and version 2s, mix it up a little bit with the printed legs. You got some stitching again, which we already saw those on some of the other minifigures we looked at, but now the head is going to have an angry expression. The numbers on the jersey will be the exact same. It is just the face. And I guess there's eyebrows now as well. So very slight changes, but gives it a little bit more variety and maybe a more reason to pick up either the base minifigure or some of the misprints. But I ended up getting this version that also had a white head, and now I don't actually own a version in the normal flesh color since this is also a darker flesh tone, which is fine, who cares, but I went for the pink version here. They had green, red, black, I think dark gray, maybe a different shade of green as well, other than, you know, I think it was green and then like the lighter green. But some real life team colors. Would have loved to have seen this in purple since from Minnesota, and I just collect purple, but you know, the pink was the closest to that with the lavender legs as well, so that was good to get. And straight misprint, we have the Autopsy Enthusiast in lavender. We have the Autopsy Enthusiast base minifigure here. It's got the second face on the back with a little bit of blood, and the front, which will just continue over to the lavender or lilac, whatever version I got here, as the dual molded legs from the Lego Batman 2 figures with like the Wonder Twins. So that's kind of a cool little extra detail there. So there's like kind of that unique printing on the legs. Torso, you know, the same deal, but the head will be slightly different since it does not have the back face print. So I guess that kind of makes sense. These were actually $50 though, so some of those, I guess, more sought after misprints are going to be a little bit more expensive. We'll see the other $50 misprints with the robots when we look at those. But saw this one, and again, as close to purple as I can get it being a shade of purple, so I thought this would be a cool one to pick up and feels like a very nice part of the collection now. And probably the highlight of the show for me, we have the base android here. Got multiple colors of this, purple, which I was very excited about, and gold as a callback to my first misprint minifigure, being the torso and legs of the original android at Brickworld 2022, the first year I went. So I was excited to pick up those, and I have an even more special version of this chrome silver version of the android. So very excited to finally check out the new version and review it. For another version 2 coming out, let's look at the version 1 of the androids, which is one of my favorite parts, sets, and figures from Citizen Brick. The torso has 2 different sides of printing. The legs just have the front. I threw on some silver big hands I found at a convention to kind of upgrade this figure. But you can see that there are like the vents on the front and the wires connecting around like it is a telephone, I guess. It's some different dials and the cool little wavy waveform on the front there. On the back, an outlet, which will continue again on the head like we saw on the tall head, I think. The like speaker box there, more vents and lights. The heads by default, I believe, are in flesh, reddish brown, yellow. So I felt like yellow kind of fits here since the gold window and the yellow kind of blend together as like different metals, I guess. I don't think that they molded things in silver for a long time since there were different issues with it. But the big head for me kind of feels like the better option since it kind of fills the space a little bit better than the tall ones. So that is going to be the default for most of these options that I picked up. But let's look at the version 2, which will carry over a lot of the basic ideas from the version 1 with the wires and I guess meters, you know. On the back, we got the outlet on the head there, some different vents. but it is also going to be basically a 360 printed minifigure here, where it does have printing on the outside of every surface. You have printed arms now with more detailing to continue the wires, bolts, different seam lines for different, I guess, metal plates on the minifigure. And the head is going to be completely redone, with it being more like oval shaped now instead of the perfect circle. You got like the voice box on the top there, which again makes sense. And just all the wires are placed differently. There is like still a little bit of like the meters and all that, just put in different spots. Same goes for the back, where same sort of like speaker box, I guess, design. The vents continue over back of the leg printing, which feels like the alignment is not very great on these, or at least they're looking a little crooked. And I noticed there's like a little bit of extra plastic on the head there at the, I don't know what that would be, like probably where the mold kind of clamps together, so that's unfortunate. But really liking the upgrades. The gold printing overall adds to the shine. I'm glad that the heads come in silver now, since it is a consistent design minifigure now and not random colors on the head. The legs are also exceptional. I think those look really nice. Kind of feel like the Tin Man collectible minifigure that is official. I'm curious what the sort of designs of all these are supposed to be, if they came up with like lore reasons on why, what is where. But I feel like they were just kind of trying to make a cool minifigure. You got like what feels like a motor on the side there. And again, on the other side, probably the speaker design, some different sliders to adjust settings, I guess. And I just love looking at this minifigure. It's just very fun. And there are all sorts of different colors on all the different parts, but it still kind of keeps the base design from the version 1, where it has the wires being white, blue, and red. I guess it would have been kind of fun to have like yellow instead of blue, because it would have matched like the, old VHS cables and all that. But having the yellow and then being printed on the yellow head, maybe that would have looked a little weird and kind of helped them make that decision back in the day. But I feel like the torso, I don't know. I like the meters, but I really loved the original design with like the waveform. I think that is super sweet, and it's kind of sad to see that missing off of the new version. Obviously, I still have the old versions, and it is nice to have two different styles of robots now. So it's not like you have to like get rid of all these ones to have better versions. It's just two different styles, but with a lot of the same design elements. And I got a bunch of misprints of these as well, with being my dream figure of this series being the purple one. When I was thinking of like them releasing the new version, seeing the misprints in the bins, needed to get a purple one. Glad to get it. Again, though, these are $50 instead of the base $25. Kind of like a Visible Man situation, where the misprints are going to be a little more valuable. There is a lot of printing, a lot of work put into this, all the different molded head colors. There are a lot of different options. For the most part, though, the torso and leg color combos had the same heads. There were some variations, with some of them having like transparent options instead of the solid plastic for purple. I believe it was only dark pink though, so it was really just picking between the big head and the tall head. Looks like this one doesn't have an issue with the mold at all, so it is probably just the silver plastic. It's just harder to work with, so that is just going to happen. But everything's going to be the same on here, ink-wise, print-wise. It's going to have the same prints on these same surfaces. It's just if you want a fun color or not. So I believe for these, they had like 20 different color options, ranging from basically anything you think of. Obviously the silver ones, there's a ton of those. They're already on the site. And another kind of fun one for me is I picked up a gold one because the first misprint I got was this gold one here of the version 1. Picked it up at Brickworld. So it was kind of full circle for me to be able to pick up a new version of that. And I wanted to get the metallic one, since that makes sense to me to have, a robot be metallic, since it is metal. So the gold here is looking beautiful, and it comes with like their cobalt sort of custom color there for the head, which is nice. So yeah, that was a good little upgrade there. And I have the silver head and the cobalt one here, and I'll probably do the glow in the dark head on this one, honestly. Maybe the cobalt one will go on either the V1 or it'll go on to the silver V1, just to kind of blend the colors a little bit better with that, and the yellow head might look better on the gold version 1 anyway. And we got one even cooler one, which has a unique head, and that'll be the final minifigure. And this will be the rarest Citizen Brick item in my collection. I got one of the chrome robot minifigures, which was part of basically a raffle with the Lego gumball machine set, where you drew a ball and you had to buy whatever figure you drew. As someone that enjoys the robots, I'm not like super bummed to get this. It was a little bit more on the expensive side, unfortunately, but as a very unique item, it's very cool, and as a robot item, very cool. The head is going to be an electrical outlet, so that is unique. I think it is only going to be found on any combination of these chrome robot minifigures, so another very rare part, and this will be a very nice addition to the robot collection. Thank you, minifigure folks, for getting these figures available for us at the headquarters. Glad to pick up a unique item like this, and it's going to look great with all the rest of my robots. I guess I have to come up with a unique display for these now, since I have this one. It'll bring a little bit more of a pop. And let's go to the final comparisons and the final verdict. I think I walked away from the convention this year feeling very happy with everything I got. I think it is a really great thing for them to be doing version 2s of older characters, just to update the designs a little bit and make them more readily available in some cases. But also it is just a great way to kind of showcase the evolution of their brand over time. I mean, looking at the robots specifically, just the extra printing, the extra faces of printing, there's just more on the figures, and it just makes it a better value. Or in some cases, like the Amish figures, it's already perfect and you just need to change the face out maybe and just put it out again in more colors. That is definitely the case here. I am very interested to see what the face for this figure is, because again, I don't recognize it from anything. If you know what's up with that, let me know in the comments. But also just with the bins and all the different opportunities to get random parts, it's just always very fun. Underwear legs are always a favorite for me. The robot torsos and parts in different colors was great to see too. You know, there were some legs I think in like orange, but I didn't end up getting that big in time. Otherwise I would have grabbed one of those too. And again with the version 2s, this figure was always really great. The molded heads are perfect, but having a new face to give it something unique is also just a nice little addition to the collection to make it a little bit more collectible and give you more reasons to buy a second one, so you don't just have two of the same guy next to each other. But I really like this figure. It was fun to see it in different colors for different jerseys. If you want to collect something from a different team, that's a great option. And also just more fun, unique Citizen Brick characters, like the drink guy here. I just think all these parts together are very fun. They had like 5 or 6 different colors of the drink hats too, so that is a nice molded part to see available in more varieties somewhere. And getting a very cool double-sided printed head was fun to see. Glad I was able to pick that out, and just the bottles in different colors is another cool mold to have just for mocks and whatever other reason. Plus another very cool misprint, which feels very unique to me and is going to be a staple of my collection for years to come. If you were at the show, did you pick up a favorite figure, or just from seeing posts online, were there any figures that you were really happy about or got from the online sale? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see more Brickworld 25 coverage or Citizen Brick reviews overall, check out all the content on my channel for more custom Lego videos. If you want to support the channel even further, I do have a member option if you want to join that for some additional perks. That would be appreciated, obviously not necessary. Like always, I have been Bricker Adiop, and I'll see you in the next video.